Okay, so this video is going to be my thoughts about using a gas mask, or when you don't have a gas mask, and also using an improvised gas mask, and what are my thoughts on them. Because I get lots of messages, people saying, look at this guy with a plastic bottle for a gas mask, would that be any good? Could I do that rather than buying a surplus mask? And for the most part the answer is no. But, so, basically I'll say it like this: if you live in a country where it's some sort of police state and you can't buy a proper respirator like this, then actually that's a really good idea if you're clever enough to get the materials and make your own improvised gas mask by putting activated carbon into a section of it where you can breathe in and out without the carbon getting into you. Basic particulate filter, something that makes a roughly airtight seal. That's a really good idea, good on you. Good that you're so inventive and everything like that, especially, as I said, if it's some sort of country where for whatever reason you can't get a proper gas mask and maybe you're tear gassed frequently by the police and stuff like that. That's very, very good. However, it's not a very good idea to make a homemade gas mask if you're in a country where you can buy literally any surplus mask possible. So, in terms of effectiveness, I would rate a plastic bottle mask filled with charcoal as less effective than a GP5 or anything like that. So that should hopefully give you some idea of how effective it's going to be. It's basically scraping the bottom of the barrel levels of effectiveness. Close to you might as well not have a mask. Now, against tear gas it might be alright, but bear in mind, for a mask to work properly you need a proper face seal. A plastic bottle is not going to give you a proper face seal. If you're pushing it into your face hard enough, you're probably going to be breathing through the filter of it, but against very deadly chemical weapons, no, it's not going to work. So don't think, if you're one of the people that actually does somehow plan to survive nerve agents, that you can't really cheap out on the mask to do that. So, as I was saying, it's a good idea if you're in a country where it's a police state and you can't buy respirators for whatever reason. They're restricted items, because I have spoken to a few people who said they have been in countries where gas masks are very heavily regulated. But what you might want to think about doing instead is actually buying a paint spraying respirator, because I'm pretty certain in most countries, even dictatorships, you could probably find a hardware store that would sell dust masks and paint spraying masks, and obviously you can buy it claiming you're painting something and don't want to inhale paint fumes. Those sort of filters on those are normally particulate and organic vapour filters, so they would work fine against tear gas, which is generally a particulate, being CS powder. So, out of the option between, say, a 3M half face mask for paint spraying, or a homemade charcoal bottle mask, I would always go with the 3M mask. So hopefully you get at what I'm getting at. If you can't get something like this, try and get a paint sprayer's mask or something like that. If you then can't get that, and you have no other options, then yes, making your own mask is probably a good idea. Now, I found it quite cool in a way that people come up with them, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, oh look at those stupid people and their bottle masks, but the point I'm making is, if you can get anything better, always go with the better thing. But yeah, I think they're quite ingenuitive and stuff like that, don't get me wrong, but there's no reason you should have one in a first world country where you're actually able to buy whatever respirators you want. I'm saying the reason being simply because even the cheapest, crappiest surplus masks, as long as they're airtight, would work better than cutting a bottle roughly to the shape of your face and putting a bit of charcoal in the bottom. So, there's that. Now, you can obviously design masks another way. So you've probably seen my video where I cut a bag open and put it with a filter and everything. I used a proper filter for that. It sort of worked, but not very well, because when you exhaled, rather than exhaling through the filter, what would actually happen is it would inflate the bag. So that wasn't a very good design. So a primitive valve system would fix that, or you know, you could try and set up a design where you breathe through and out the filter, you know, doing the filter suck. That would work better as well, I should think. But the point is, if you're in some sort of country and you can't get anything better, then obviously, yes, make your bottle mask, it will be good. If you're in a country where you can buy whatever you want, buy a good new respirator or a good surplus respirator. And if you're in a country where you can't buy military surplus, but you can go to a hardware shop and buy paint sprayers masks, obviously go with a 3M half face mask or something like that. So, yeah, they're not the worst thing I've ever seen. They work to a degree against tear gas, but you certainly couldn't use them against proper chemical weapons. So, that's my thoughts on those bottle masks and some of the other weird homemade gas mask designs I've seen. Better than absolutely nothing, but in most places I think you could probably buy something better as long as you're smart enough to sort of think outside the box and don't go for military surplus, if that's restricted, go to your hardware store and buy paint spraying supplies, and that will do the job for you.